Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan, I'm the Mood Read Queen, and in today's video, we're going to talk about some series that I need to finish. And you can kind of see I've clearly, the books behind me are usually favorites, but they are also paired with, if they have a sequel that's come out, a sequel that I know I need to read, and clearly there's some sequels up there. So we're just going to kind of go through the series that I need to finish, whether it's one book or two or several. Most of them I have either hardback or paperback, but some of them are online. So let's get started. There's so many books. Okay, so, and some of these we'll talk about what I need to read and also maybe why I haven't read them yet. Because, I'm going to do some psychoanalysis. Okay, so the first series that I need to finish, and technically this is a duology in its own right, but we have King of Scars. Ooh, that is bright. King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. And then the second book in that series is Rule of Wolves. And this is a duology, but I would consider it part of her Shadow and Bone universe. And so and clearly everyone else does, right? Because that's on the back of the book. But which one is less shiny? I think this one is. So we're going to use this. Maybe? I don't know. Okay. So why haven't I finished this series? Well, little quick story time. So I read probably 3 years ago now, Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. If you have not read that duology, I don't care if you prefer adult over YA, if you're not quite sure if fantasy is your realm, that book, that duology is nearly flawless, truly. It is a fantasy heist novel. The characters come off as older than they are, and in fact, the TV show, which I have not watched yet, which we're going to talk about why I haven't watched yet, but the TV show actually ages up the characters as well. I prefer holding this one up even though it's shiny. So I haven't read it because I loved Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom so much. But when they announced the show and I had heard about it, I was like, okay, I guess before the show I need to read Shadow and Bone, which is the trilogy that she published prior to Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. And the events in that series take place maybe 5 or 6 years before. I knew that there was a little bit of crossover of characters, but I didn't have any questions when I was reading the Six of Crows duology. So I read the Shadow and Bone series. Hated it. It was just boring. The plot wasn't good, and the main character, I think her name is, Alina? Oh my god, Alina, you're so fucking boring. She has 3 dudes in that series that are falling over themselves for her. One is some badass, should have got a redemption arc but didn't, broody, morally gray / straight up evil character. One is this crazy, bland, boring bestie character, and the other one is this sort of funny, comedic, yet also sort of tortured soul prince character. Okay, 2 of them are interesting. The other one is just as boring as her, so they deserve each other. I really didn't like it. There'd be moments where you were thinking, ooh, this might be... Nope. No. So, I haven't read these last 2 books that are Nikolai's story. Nikolai is a character. He's the prince character that you meet in the first 3 books, and he does make appearance in Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. But I haven't read this series because I've heard some stuff. And I'm afraid that they're not good. And something that, I don't know if you've had this problem before, but sometimes I wonder, and this applies to the next one I'm going to talk about as well, I wonder who the real author is. And what I mean by that is, if you've ever read a series where the author just blows you away, it's incredible. Like, flawless, a book that you know you're going to love forever and ever and ever. And then you read something else by them, and it's not as good by a long shot. In fact, maybe it's embarrassing how bad it is. And that has been the situation with me and Leigh Bardugo, because I'm not sure who's the real Leigh Bardugo. And when I read this series, I think I'll know. And granted, I have not read Ninth House. I think she has a couple other ones. So I'll know when I read all of them. But I'm afraid that the real Leigh Bardugo is not the one who wrote Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. I'm afraid that those were an accident. So anyway, I have not read these two books yet. And they're huge. And so what I'll probably do is, honestly, I bought them because I wanted to be supportive, and I was so excited about Nikolai. But what can you do? Okay, give me a second. The lighting is kind of funky. Okay, sorry about that. So the next series I need to finish is technically a spin-off series of a series that is already done. And this is Forging Silver into Stars. It is by Bridget Kimmerer, and it takes place in the same world as her Curse Breakers series, which is The Curse of Dark and Lonely, which I think I've talked about in a recent video, and if I haven't, I will soon. And that series, which you can see here, this is A Curse of Dark and Lonely. I need to take my stickers off. And then these are the sequels. This takes place in the same world. There's a character from the second book, I think, second and third book, who shows up in this one, and I'm excited about it. And I got a signed copy and everything. I mean, she didn't sign it for me. I just bought it like that. But I'm afraid, because this is a very similar situation to the unfortunate Leigh Bardugo situation. And that is, I don't know who the real Bridget Kimmerer is. Because A Curse of Dark and Lonely is one of my favorite books of all time. I read it like maybe 3 years ago. Amazing. One of my favorite books of all time. And then the sequels ruined it. And that was not me being high and mighty. I promise, if you read some reviews, you're going to see what I'm talking about. And I'm afraid, when I read this book, I will know who the real Bridget Kimmerer is. And I hope it's the one who wrote A Curse of Dark and Lonely. I really, really wanted to like the rest of that series, and I was heartbroken. It's why it hurt so much. Yeah. Anyway, so I want to finish the series. Because look, it's just beautiful. It's so pretty. And yeah, there's some great fan art for this series, though, I gotta say. Okay, then let's just go with fantasy first, I guess. Let's just fantasy first. So I only have the second book. I don't have a third one yet in this series. This is called Ruthless Gods. It's by Emily A. Duncan. And the first book in the series was called Wicked Saints. I think this author had some bad shit happen. And I think it blew up online a couple of years ago. I think she said some really terrible things, maybe racist. And so I kind of put this on the back burner because I wanted to like Wicked Saints a lot more than I did. And I was kind of frustrated that I didn't. So this is the second book, and the third book, I have no idea what it's called, actually. Because I didn't buy it because this is called the Something Dark and Holy Trilogy. And it's fascinating. Their names are, oh God, hard to pronounce. It's like Shadow and Bone when they all have, Shadow and Bone, a lot of them have like Russian esque names. And this one really takes that to the extreme. But I wanted to like that first book more, but I was also committed to seeing what was going to happen, and now I haven't. But I really do need to finish it. But maybe I can find it like used, because I don't want to like support this author more than I than I need to. I know she retracted a lot of stuff, but I, like, you done fucked up. Maybe you shouldn't have done that. All right. Got a couple more, one more fantasy. So the last fantasy book, I believe the last fantasy book that I need to read, and this finishes out the Bridge Kingdom series. I actually have those books up here, right there. It's the Bridge Kingdom and the Traitor Queen. And this is the third book, and it is about, and this is the Fey Crate limited edition. It's so pretty. It's huge, though. I think it's because the paper is, like, super hardcore. Because, this book is, like, the same size as the first two put together. But this is about the brother of Laura, who's one of the main characters in the first book, and then his love interest. And I think that it kind of takes place over time. Every story takes place over time. What I mean by that is when we meet the two of them together in that series, in the first two books, second book, they clearly know each other and there's a connection there. So I think we'll probably, in this book, get what happened before and then what happened after that book. This came in the mail a couple weeks ago, and I haven't read it because it's huge. And it's on Audible as well. I don't know. I love the Bridge Kingdom series, so I'm definitely going to read this. But I couldn't say no to this beautiful edition. Like, hello. So, Fey Crate special editions. Check it out. Shipping takes forever sometimes, but it's worth it. All right. So the next, some of these are. We'll do YA next. And not to I don't want to oversimplify because I don't really care if it's YA or adult, but these ones are, I think, pretty firmly in the YA category. So there are two books in the Once Upon a Con series that I need to finish. So this is the second book, The Princess and the Fangirl. This, I think, features, this is the first one is called Geekerella, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's a fun story about a girl who loves a TV show. It's being adapted into a movie, and she is being critical of the cast announcement, and then she ends up talking to this boy online, who ends up being the guy who's been cast in the show. And it's a sweet book, and I liked it quite a bit. And I like the con stuff. It's pretty fun. But one of the girls in that book is in this one. And or maybe both of them are. I don't remember. I might have to reread the first one, honestly. It's been long enough now. But this is a sapphic romance. And I do not read enough of those. I don't know what it is. I read enough romance, let me tell you. More than a person should, maybe, although I don't think that's possible. But the sapphic romances don't grab my attention as much, and so I do struggle with those. So that's the second book in the series. And then the third one is Bookish and the Beast. And if you're thinking what I'm thinking, and that is It's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And I was so excited when I found out about it. But I can't read it until I read the second one, because that's my rule. And also, duh. Oh my gosh, I just look at the back. There's this guy in the library and this other dude in the back, or in the window, that says Homecoming. Oh my god, is there is there a gay subplot in this? I bet there is. I need to read it. Maybe they're not that hard, and I'm going to have a busy fall, so I think these would be good books to read. And actually, the fall is Megan reads books from series that she hasn't finished time, and also rereads favorite series to deal with the stress of being a high school English teacher in 2022 and trying to work on her master's degree and apparently keep up with YouTube and all these other things that I have to do. I know we're all busy. The next book that I need to read is also YA. It's called Darius the Great Deserves Better. It's by, I should probably have been saying who these authors are as we're going, but I think you can see what it is, hopefully. But this is Adib Khorram, and he wrote Darius the Great Is Not Okay. Darius the Great Is Not Okay made me not okay. It was such a good book. Oh my god, I cried. And And this came out, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't know Darius was going to get another book. Oh my God. Well, Megan hasn't read the second book yet. And it came out a while ago. So I gotta get my stuff together. So yeah. We'll get there. Hopefully. I don't know. I'll get there. I think I'm delaying it because I think I have to say goodbye to Darius after this. And I'm not ready to say goodbye to Darius. Because I loved him. He was a precious being and I loved him. Okay. Then, another book. The sequel came out a little while ago. This book, Aristotle and Dante Dive into the Waters of the World, is the sequel to Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. And that book broke me. There's a whole list of books that broke me, and that will be another video. But that book broke me. And Ari and Dante are two of my all-time faves. Ari, I just so much. When they announced that this was coming out, it was a couple years after I'd read it, and it was like, no word, no word, no word. And then suddenly it had a title and everything. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So I haven't read it yet because I'm afraid. I'm afraid. So, because we leave them in a very optimistic place. And I thought this would take place years later, maybe when they were adults, but they're still in high school. And so they're going to be these boys trying to date in the 1980s in high school. And I'm afraid. I'm afraid that it's going to hurt me. But they better still be together by the end. God damn it. Okay. Then there's one more. Well, I actually just thought of it, so we'll just talk about it. There's one more series. Oh, I forgot a fantasy series I need to finish. Ugh, I was trying to be so organized. Because I'm not organized normally. But it's the Simonverse series. And it's not like necessarily a series. But it is. And it's by Becky Albertalli. And I love her so much. You should check her out on social media. But the first book is Simonverse, the Homo Sapiens Agenda. Oh, it's Creekwood or the Simonverse, whatever you want to call it. And so there are a couple books I need to read from this series. I need to read Leah on the Offbeat, which is, she is one of Simon's best friends. There's also a Love Creekwood series, which is a novella and has, I think, some shorter stories. And then there's also the Upside of Unrequited, which I don't know how these connect, but I know that they're all in the same universe, and that there are characters that overlap. And I loved Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. It was so, so, so good. And, oh my God, we read it. And then I did a book club with my kids, my book club at school, and we all read it. And then we went to go see the movie, and it was wonderful. Yeah. So that's something that I need to finish. Let me make sure that I've covered everything before I move on to the, kind of more like adult realistic fiction. Okay. So we're going to kind of rewind a little bit to go back to fantasy. So I read recently, a series by Alessa Thorne. And it is called like the Fey Universe Series, I believe. And one day I'll talk about that in a video. I'm going to do a video about like Fey recommendations or books to read if you liked ACOTAR. Maybe books that aren't as difficult to read. But it's called the Fey Universe Series. There are 4 books. No. They're technically there are 3 books initially, and then she's doing like a spin-off series called The Ironwoods. So the first book in the series is called The Heart. Wait, a kiss from the Blood Prince. The second book is called The Heart of the Winter Prince, and the third one is called Wings of the Night Prince. And in that last one, you meet one of the main characters. She's an Ironwood. And those are humans who have like trained to be like assassins, warriors, bounty hunters, and so then she's starting a new series called the Ironwoods. But they're all connected. Like those characters are still going to show up. So I need to read Trash and Treasure, which okay, this is another one of those situations where I say to you, sorry, the cover is highly questionable. And then the second book in that series that I need to read, and it's still ongoing, is God Touched. So I got to read those. And then let's go to some adult realistic fiction ones. So I read The Kiss Quotient a couple years ago. I think there was a bug that just flew by, so that's fun. But I have not read the next two books. So we have The Bride Test, which is about Kai, and Kai is the cousin, Michael's cousin, and he has Asperger's, and that is how Michael in The Kiss Quotient is able to work so well with, oh my gosh, I can't remember her name now, the main character in that book. And then the next book is about Quan, and I can't remember if Quan is I think he's also a cousin. So I love The Kiss Quotient. I loved her writing. I don't know why I haven't finished the series. I don't always think about, like, I love romance. It doesn't have to be a romance for me. Clearly, I've talked about a lot of things that aren't romance, but I always forget about these, and I collect them, and then I don't read them. So that's a series that I think would be easy. In addition to, like, finishing up some of these, like, easier, some of them YA, some of them fantasy series. Then the rest of the books that I need to finish. So there are two sports contemporary romance series that I need to finish. So the first series, let me pull it up here. Sorry. I'll probably cut this out. Who knows? Depends on how much I want to try. I took screenshots, but it's not the same, honestly. Okay. So the first series is by Amy Dawes. And I read this book by her called Blindsided. And I read it because of the plus size representation. I loved this book. It was so good. I actually bought the audiobook the other day because it was in a sale. And I was like, oh my God, I need to hear this man because he's Scottish. But there's the Harris Brothers, and then there's the Harris Brothers World. And in my opinion, they're all in the same series. And the Harris Brothers World series is 4 books that are characters that aren't the Harris Brothers, but they are connected to them in some way. The Harris Brothers are soccer players, I believe. Yes. And so Blindsided is about a Scottish soccer player who falls in love with this beautiful plus-size redhead seamstress. Oh, God, I love it. And they do a whole, like, I'll teach you to be good at sex thing. I died. It was great. But the other series that is connected is the Harris Brothers series. And there are 7 books in that series that include also novella. And so I need to read those. So I don't even know if I should put them all on the screen. But Strength is about, I think, their sister. And that is the prequel. And then there's Challenge, Endurance, Keeper, End Goal, Surrender, and Dominate. And those are just the ones from, like, the original series. So I like sports romances. I don't read them a lot. But I do like them. And because, like, you're guaranteed for, like, a dude to be, like, super fit and strong if you're reading a sports one. And then the other series I need to finish is also a sports series. and it's called the Sydney Smoke Rugby series. It's by Amy Andrews. I read Playing It Cool, which is also, I read also for the Plus Size Rep. I knew going in that they were part of a series, but they were pretty standalone within that series with some crossover of background characters. So I knew that, like, if they mentioned someone in passing, they probably were going to get their own book or already had their own book. So it was fine. But I really did like them a lot. And so in the Sydney Smoke Rugby series, I need to read the first one, which is Playing by Her Rules, and then 3 through 7. So we have Playing the Player. The picture of this reminds me, if you've seen Ted Lasso, it reminds me of Jamie. Playing with Forever, Playing House, Playing Dirty, and Playing It Safe. I believe in each one of those sports series, there's at least one romance, which I am about that. They need to have more sapphic romances because like I mentioned earlier, I'm really bad about prioritizing those. I feel bad about it. It's not something that I think about as much, and I try to be a great ally and supportive, and then I just don't read enough sapphic romances. So maybe in the comments, tell me, like, what are some great sapphic romances? I know there are some great ones. I own a lot of them. I just haven't read them yet. So those are the books that I need to read that are part of series or spin-off series of books I've already read. And I'm hoping to get to these, or at least a good chunk of them, in the fall when I'm doing my rereading of some faves and then trying to read some stuff that's a little bit easier, just because the fall is a crazy time for teachers. I kind of go crazy. I go nuts, and I need something that's fun, that's easy, that's digestible, that's not going to make my brain explode, because I don't have time for that. So that's it. I hope if you didn't know about some of these, maybe they sounded interesting. Let me know if any of those sound good to you. And again, if you have any sapphic romances, holler at me. All right. Bye, everybody.